Deep in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, nestled away in the majestic, almost breathtaking scenery, is a hamlet called Maysville, Colorado. It is here, with a population less than 200 people, where 49-year-old mother of two Suzanne Morphew supposedly, according to her husband Barry, set out on a bike ride on Mother's Day 2020 and never returned. It's been almost 3 agonizing years for thousands of people all around the world who have heeded Suzanne's call from the other side to help track down her killer. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome back. So you guys do me a quick favor and somebody give me a thumbs up if my microphone's working, because as you all know from times past, my microphone doesn't always work. So if you guys can hear me, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Good to see all you guys. Jen Dobb, Don Marie, Marla Hannah. Mary, why you bugging? Hey, it's good to see all you guys. I thought we would just do a recap on the Suzanne Morphew case. It's been a while since I've talked about this case. Thank you guys for all the thumbs ups on my sound here. And I'm going to be pretty much ad-libbing it because I don't really have like a set script or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to get on here and chat with everybody and kind of give everybody an update from my point of view. I know there's probably some people out there who are much more up to date on the situation with the Suzanne Morphew case. Admittedly, I've kind of gotten away from all cases, not just the Suzanne Morphew case, but pretty much every case with the way our world is going. If there's anybody in this chat or anybody that sees this video that their life is actually doing better now than it was when the Suzanne Morphew case started almost 3 years ago, then kudos to you, man, because that's saying something. I hope your life is much better. But I think for the good majority of us, you know, our quality of life and life in general has really gone downhill. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's gone downhill. There's just a lot going on in our world, in our country, that just really keeps me up at night. And so I've kind of gotten away from the murder cases a little bit. But having said that, not a day goes by that I don't think about the Suzanne Morphew case. Every single day I think about it in one way or another. So what I'd like to do tonight is just kind of recap for anybody that's new to the case, just kind of recap. You know, we all have our own stories. Everybody's story is different, but for me, the Suzanne Morphew case has been a little bit different than most people's experience, because I had the chance to run into Barry out there in Maysville, Colorado, and then I've, you know, everything that transpired after that with meeting up with other creators and, you know, hearing their story and just kind of watching them, you know, develop and evolve, you know, their channels and whatnot. So, but my story, let me tell you a little bit about my story, and then we can kind of relate it and tie it all back into the Suzanne Morphew case. But for me, I'm going to take you guys back to about, what year was it? Like 2014. So I was a single guy living here in Arizona, raising my kids. You know, I had made it a point that I didn't want to get into a relationship, didn't want to get remarried. I just kind of wanted to focus on my kids. So I was naturally, being a teacher and a coach in the public school system, I wanted to coach my kids' teams. And so, I put them on the front burner and just started coaching their teams and spending a lot of time with them. And then somewhere along the middle or the end of 2014, I met a gal from Colorado, from Southern Colorado, who I found to be very interesting. And we had, we met online. And so we kind of had a whirlwind relationship. I was working out of town and driving like an hour each way every day to work. And so I was super busy, but I made time to get to know this individual from Southern Colorado. And so we kind of hit it off, not kind of, like we really hit it off. And we got really serious really fast. And even though I swore I'd never do that again, you know how it goes, man. You get bit by that love bug and all that stuff goes out the window. So anyway, this gal from Colorado, we came up with an agreement that she would move out to Arizona and bring her young kids with her, and we would start a relationship out here, and she would help me raise my kids and I'd help her do the same. And so it was good. It was really, really good. We packed her stuff and moved her out here. And for about 8 months, she was here and we were living life and we were having a good time. We were able to squeeze a trip to Disneyland in there. We were, just doing a lot of fun, really cool stuff for the kids and making a lot of fun memories for them. But somewhere along the way, about 8 months into this, I told you I was driving to work every day, about an hour. And one day I came home from work and my house was empty. My house was empty. And all the furniture was gone. And we hadn't, there had been no issues leading up to this. It was just a total shock and a total surprise to me. And so anyway, as a result of that, I started spending a tremendous amount of time up in Colorado. Every free moment I got, I was making a trip up there because this gal and I were actually trying to work it out for like a year and a half, 2 years. She wanted to just move home and be close to her mom and dad and whatnot. So anyway, over the course of the next couple of years, I spent time in Colorado and got to know some people in that area. And so during one of these trips up there, I was driving here. Let me see if I can pull this up. I was driving back home to Arizona, and I always stopped in this little town called Pagosa Springs, Colorado, and stay the night there. And I'm going to show you on a map because I know you've probably heard this story before, but I want to show you kind of in relation where it is in relation to Salida, and I'm going to tie all this together. So hold on one second here. Let me see if I can pull up this Google Earth real fast. Okay, so let me see. All right, so here we go. So I hope you guys can see that. I'm going to jump out of here so maybe it can make it a little bit quite a drive there. So I'm going to get this out of here real fast. Hold on a minute. There we go. Okay. So anyway, so one night when I was traveling back home after visiting Colorado during this time, I had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to go back to Salida. And this was unusual for me because I've never really felt anything like that before. I wouldn't consider myself like a psychic or, um, fortune teller or whatever. I mean, I was just kind of going with it. And I had these really strong urges that I needed to go back up to Salida and help try to find Suzanne. And at first I was like, man, I don't even know anything about this case because it was only like 3 weeks after it happened. I think it was like June, and she disappeared, of course, in May. So it was like, yeah, 3 or 4 weeks after it happened. And so I didn't know a lot about the case. And so I was just kind of looking at it that night, thinking about what I could do or what I needed to do, or if I should just continue to go home. And I said, there's no way I'm driving all the way back up there because it's too far of a drive. So I slept on it that night. And I thought that in the morning that feeling would be gone and I would have a clear path, just to go home and a clear conscience. But nope, I was wrong. I woke up the next morning and that feeling was back even stronger. I would say probably 100 times stronger. And so I hopped in my truck and like a true gypsy, I guess, a lost soul, I just started driving, not really knowing what to expect when I got there. And so as many of you know that have followed this story, I got there the day before I actually filmed Barry and got that video of him. So I got there the day before. And when I did, I couldn't find his house because it was tucked way back in the trees, and it was just a little difficult to find, up there by his house. You don't have a lot of cell phone signal. So I was kind of lost for a while, just to put it lightly. And during this time that I was lost, I finally got back down. I had passed it and I went up the mountain a little too high, and I came back and I saw this truck that was sitting on the side of the road, and it was like a brand new at that time, a newer 2020 Ford F-150, 4-door, silver, gray, whatever you want to call it. And it was backed in there. It was backed in just off the side of the road right there at the 225 pull out. And at that time, I had no idea that was Barry Morphew's truck. I had no idea. And I was just kind of going with my gut feeling on everything. And I was a little nervous, as you can imagine, being out there and not really knowing what to expect. So I just grabbed my camera and I started walking around and filming. And in the very beginning, as I started walking down where later I found out they found Suzanne's bike, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know her bicycle was right there or that it was found right there. I was just looking around. And as I started walking, I didn't get a good 15, 20 feet before that truck that was parked there, that was backed in, started up and started to drive away. And I thought it was really weird because when I looked in the truck, when I first pulled up, there was nobody in it. There was nobody there. And I looked in the back. Of course, the windows were a little bit tinted, but I would have saw the silhouette had somebody been in there, and I didn't see anybody in there. And here's the crazy part. So as that truck kind of rounded the corner, I looked real closely and I saw it was Barry driving the truck. And I saw somebody in the passenger seat and I saw one other person in the back seat. So these three people came out of nowhere. And I'm talking about in a matter of like split seconds. They just came out of nowhere. And I don't know who those other two people were because my eyes were directly fixed on Barry. And I wanted to know if it was him. And I had seen pictures of him that I had been researching online. So I was pretty certain that it was him. And so as my eyes locked on him, as he was driving by at about 5 miles an hour, he didn't even look at me. And I was pretty much walking right down the road. He didn't even look at me because he was so stoic and so distraught. That's the word I like to use, that he didn't even notice me walking along the road there. Now, in hindsight, and a little bit of time has passed now, and I've had a lot of time to think about this, and everything's kind of like simmered down. That's really weird for a lot of reasons. Number one, if his wife had been missing for 3 weeks and he saw some strange guy out there wandering around, I think it would be normal for him to roll down his window and say, "Hey, what's going on? What are you up to?" Or, but no, he didn't even look. And I thought that was kind of weird. And as I looked at him closely, I saw that he had his shirt off. And so he was bare chested, and his chest and his face and his whole body, his arms and everything were completely red, like pink, like red. And he was soaking wet. And again, I just thought that's really weird. And the look on his face was one of a person that was just totally 100% distraught, like he had just seen a ghost. And it was just wild. It was bizarre. And so to this day, I still have no idea, number one, where they came from. It was raining a little bit that day, but not much. It was just kind of sprinkling, and it was kind of blowing sideways, not enough to make somebody look like they just got out of a swimming pool, because that's the way that Barry looked that day. And as the truck rolled on by, my brain was trying to catch up with all this information and just kind of, figure out the scenario. I saw that his license plate was from Indiana. And so then that was kind of like the final proof that I needed that was indeed Barry Morphew, because I had been reading that they had recently moved up there from Indiana. So I proceeded to walk down the road, walk across the bridge. There's an open field just to the left as you go over that first bridge right there where they found Suzanne's bike. I kind of wandered around. I could see the caution tape from the searches that they had done. I even found a little MRE dinner from one of the searchers, I'm assuming, that had eaten the MRE, and instead of putting it into the trash can, they threw it out on the forest floor. And the deer, there was like a herd of deer there eating that MRE. And I knew it was from the search because it was one of those little packages that they were handing out during the search. And I don't know whose it was or where it came from, but that was my find of the day. That's what I had found. And so I knew that I was kind of in close proximity to where the searchers had been. So I just kept looking around in that field and didn't find anything. And the sun started to go down, started to get dark pretty early. And so I said, well, I'm going to go crash out for the night. And so I went back to the Walmart parking lot there in Salida and stayed the night in my camper, which, sometimes I do when hotels are full, or, I don't feel like spending the money when I'm just going to be crashing out there for a few hours. There's no sense in going and getting a hotel. So I slept there. And the next day I was kind of reluctant to go out there again, because the first day I didn't really find anything. It didn't look like the searchers had found anything, but that overpowering feeling was still there, and that I needed to go back out there and search, even though I didn't know what I was looking for and didn't have a single person with me. And so as I started out again, just like I did the day before, this time it was really clear, very sunny, no more rain clouds. I started to walk down the road, and I looked up and I saw a truck coming. And it was that same truck that I had seen yesterday. And you tell me if this is a coincidence or not. I mean, it could have been any time of the day. that I was there, but I just happened to be there right at that moment when Barry Morphew was driving towards me this time instead of away from me. So this time around, I was prepared. I had my camera. My GoPro was set with a full charged battery ready to go in case, and it wasn't necessarily a gotcha moment for me. It was just I wanted to hear what Barry had to say because I didn't know what the situation was. I didn't know. I didn't suspect him of anything. I was just trying to help him if that was the case. And so as he started to roll up on me, he was staring at me this time, and he had his mom in the passenger seat, as all of you guys know. And I motioned him to stop. And when he did, he rolled down the passenger window. And the first thing I said was, "Hi, are you Barry Morphew?" Now, in that moment, something came over me that I can't describe. Sometimes you just know things in life, right? Like sometimes you just know. I mean, there's no way to describe it. You don't hear a voice. You don't see something with your eyeballs. You don't feel something with your hands or your feet. You just know. And you have no way of describing it. But in that moment when I said, "Are you Barry Morphew?" the look on his face and the feeling that came over me, I knew in the very instant that he had done something to Suzanne, that there was more to this story than meets the eye. And so he sat there bewildered for a few seconds in shock that I actually knew his name. And he's like, "Who is this guy?" And so instead of saying, "Yeah, I'm Barry Morphew, this is the situation," and telling me from his truck, he immediately threw it in park right in the middle of the road and got out. And that's when I turned the camera on, and he said what he said. He said, "We've had problems with media, and we don't want to have anybody filming us." And I was flustered, and I was just really caught up in the whole situation. But that really strong, powerful feeling that I had that he was lying was still there. And I wanted to make sure my camera was on. I wanted to get what he was saying because I knew just from my limited research the night before that he wasn't talking to anybody, that he was putting out his own video and he wasn't talking to the news, CNN, Fox, or anybody. He was really just trying to hide out and run the narrative. So luckily I caught the conversation that we had. Like I wasn't sure if my camera was rolling because I stuck it in my pocket, and sometimes my camera has a little glitch in it to where sometimes it'll turn off by itself, and I don't know why. And so I didn't know if it was still running, but I was kind of like fiddling with it to check it to make sure it was still on. I wanted to make sure we were getting this conversation. And the rest is pretty much history. And it was really weird the way that Barry just left his mom sitting in the truck right in the middle of the road in the passenger seat. Didn't even say a word to her, like, "Hey, I'll be right back. I'm going to go show this guy what happened." He was just so scared of me and so scared of me knowing his name that he just threw it in drive and hopped out real fast. And the first thing he said is he has a $200,000 reward. And then he went on to tell me, as you guys know, that they've already covered this area and they've covered that area, and we need to do this, we need to do that. Now, that conversation would have been a lot longer had a car not pulled up behind Barry's mom, who was still sitting in the passenger seat. And the guy that was driving that car was honking the horn for that truck, for Barry's truck to move, because they were right there on that bridge and that car couldn't go by. And so that startled us. And we started walking back down toward the truck. And that's when the conversation kind of like just started to end. I wanted to find out a lot more information, and I think I could have had that other car not come up behind us. But, and then what I did is I just said, "You know what? Like, this guy's lying. I can tell, I can feel it like in every fiber of my being. I'm out of here." Like the hair on the back of my neck was standing up. So I just took off and I drove back to Arizona. And then I went on to Idaho, where I was covering another case, and I was already had a trip planned over there to go check out the Daybell case, which, by the way, I had that very same feeling about Chad Daybell, and I missed talking to him by one day. He was arrested when I was in Utah driving up to Idaho, and so I missed him by one day. But, I think that's a good thing, because I do believe that I would probably be buried in his backyard had that not happened. So, because you guys know me, I like to push the limits, and I had a little plan that I had put together for Chad Daybell. I was going to roll up in his front yard and pop my hood and act like my car was broke down, and have him come out, and I was going to talk to him. But he got arrested the day before I got there. And the day that I was there, they started digging up Tylee and JJ out of the backyard, and I was able to talk to Chad Daybell's son. But I had that same feeling with the Daybells, with the Daybell case, that I needed to go up there and just kind of, I don't know, man. I have no explanation as to why I was feeling like that. I haven't ever really felt that before in my entire life. So as a result of that, as things started to play out, I felt somewhat of an obligation towards Suzanne to make sure that her name always stayed in the spotlight, because of that strong feeling that I had. And I really dedicated myself to that. I really pressed through a lot of depression and, some of my own demons that I was battling with. I was able to persevere through all that. And then, I hooked up with Dusty and Chappie, and we started to build this channel up, and things started to get kind of like sideways in terms of, I started to lose my focus and focus more on money and merchandise being sold and t-shirts and popularity and things like that, rather than really focusing on what I was there for. And that was to try to help this missing person. And without all the notoriety and all the other like fanfare and all the stuff that comes with it. But, it's hard when that stuff starts happening. But we started to lose focus. And I think when you do that, that's when things start to crumble, and I think that's kind of what happened. Not entirely, but it's definitely part of it. And as we fast forward now to today, this Barry Morphew, Suzanne Morphew case, whatever you want to call it, has had a lot of twists and turns, had a lot of ups and downs. And I've made a lot of really good friends along the way, people who have prayed for me, who have sent me money, who have wanted to send me money. If they had money, they would have, definitely. But more than money, they sent up prayers on my behalf for my safety, just love in general. And I felt every single one of those prayers. It seemed like collectively I was protected, and was able to raise awareness to the best of my ability for Suzanne Morphew. Somewhere along the way, Plunder, Paula, I don't know, you guys, I don't know if you know her or if she still has a channel. I don't really get on YouTube too much anymore and follow a lot of this stuff, but Plunder picked it up. She started to spread the word. She was instrumental in getting the word out for Suzanne. And so as it started to spread, Mike King with Profiling Evil contacted me, and his channel was really small. He only had 300 subscribers, maybe 35. I don't know. It was just like right in the beginning stages. And he called me, he got my number, and he called me and he said, "Hey, this is Mike King, and I would like to talk to you about this encounter that you had with Barry." And he said, "I got my partner here with me. His name's Chris McDonough. And we want to kind of just hear, because we're going to try to raise awareness." And I said, "Yeah, sure. No problem." And so we started this conversation about what happened. And I was telling them just like I'm saying here, that I went out there the day before and this and that. Anyway, we went through the whole scenario for about an hour, and everything was great. They hung up, I hung up, said goodbye. And about 10 minutes later, the phone's ringing again. It's Mike King again. And I said, I wonder what the heck's going on. Mike's calling back. Hey, Tyson, sorry to bother you. This is Mike King. I forgot to hit record for that entire thing. So we'd like to go ahead and go through the whole thing again. So for another hour, we went through the whole thing again. And in hindsight, I know why they did that. These guys are ex-investigators or ex-law enforcement. That's one of the tactics that they use. They want 2 copies of your statement or your story so they can go through it with a fine-tooth comb and see if there's any discrepancies or inconsistencies in your story. But see, I didn't know that. I just thought that they were legit, just, YouTubers just wanting to know the story and get things going. And it took me a long time to kind of catch on to what was really going on. And so they got the second one, and they probably compared them side by side to make sure that my story was holding water and that I wasn't in cahoots with Barry and all that. So Chris Madonna took it a little bit further. I think Mike King realized early on that I wasn't involved with the disappearance of Suzanne. And so he kind of was just like, nah, Tyson, he's a legit dude. He's straight up. He's cool. Everything's fine. But I think Chris Madonna was a little more cautious, or what's the word? He was a little more suspicious. And so he was calling me all the time. He was having me talk to his wife and his kid at home. He was telling me about his other son that died. And in hindsight, again, he was doing all of this to build that relationship of trust with me because he believed that I was in cahoots with Barry, that Barry and I had planned all this, and that we were making all this, this whole story up so it would make Barry look innocent, and it would kind of lay the groundwork for his video that he put out. That one where he says, "Oh, Suzanne, I miss you so much. Your girls miss you." Barry Morphew is one of the biggest sociopaths, narcissists, most evil people I've ever met in my entire life. And I don't hesitate to say that now, now that the smoke's cleared and I kind of have a better grasp of what's going on, and I'm a little distance between me and the situation now. Barry's evil. And I hope he sees this. I don't know. He probably doesn't watch my stuff or anybody's stuff really, but I hope he sees it because I want him to know. I want somebody to have a platform that can call him out for what he is. He's a piece of crap, narcissist that it's evident to everybody that has followed this case that he is responsible for the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew, his wife. Nothing, absolutely nothing that he's ever said has held an ounce of water. And I feel really bad for his girls because I understand the situation, but there's a lot of things that I don't understand with those girls. That's their mom. And I don't understand how they didn't come out and rally around Andy Mormon, who's Suzanne's brother, when he came out and did the search. How come they didn't rally around him, their uncle? How come they didn't rally around the community, who was chock full of men and women, mostly women, who were putting things together for Suzanne in remembrance of her, whether it be bouquets of flowers, ribbons, the banners that they were hanging up at Walmart and all over town. I don't know. It just seemed like they were aloof. They were absent. And I just don't understand that. It's been really, really strange. And I went on Good Morning America and watched Barry on there with his girls, and the girls were saying, we're never going to stop looking for our mother. And I thought, well, when did you guys ever start? I mean, I followed this case pretty closely, and I've never seen you guys do a thing for your mom. So, I've really held back on saying anything about the girls, but there's just a lot of things that are really strange about that. Now, I'm not saying that they are in on it or that they're guilty of anything, other than just, if they are guilty of anything, it's just, not loving their mom the way that most people would. I don't know. It's just been really strange. So not only does Barry have them in his back pocket somehow, but now he's got this lawyer. That lawyer is now going after Linda Stanley, the DA, the prosecutor, and everybody else that was involved with arresting Barry and charging him with first-degree murder. She's now put together like an 86-page or an 89-page statement or whatever, documentation saying that all these people, Linda Stanley included, needs to be disbarred and banned from ever prosecuting anybody ever again. And so somehow Barry, that little weasel, has all these people fooled, and he has all these people in his back pocket. And it just speaks to his level. He's a master manipulator. And, it's crazy to me to think now that all these other people that were prosecuting him are going down, or it looks like, they're trying to bring him down. And, have these people made mistakes? Possibly. I mean, did Linda Stanley make a mistake or two? Probably. I mean, I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a lawyer, but, I didn't think it was real smart of her to go on with Mike King and Profile and Evil, to talk about the case. And so, maybe there were some missteps along the way, but that should not let Barry off the hook. And now you know what I'm talking about when I say this case has taken all kinds of twists and turns. I mean, I'll never forget the day everybody started messaging me saying, Barry's been arrested. First-degree murder. We finally got him. And man, I just felt like the weight of the world off my shoulders. Like, man, like I was kind of somewhat instrumental in helping bring this justice for Suzanne. And so we thought we had him. We thought he was going to go down. And then all of a sudden the bottom fell out. They let him out. And now they're saying, Chaffee County saying they need more time for the snow to melt because they know where her body's at, but they just need a little more time to go recover it. So I don't know. That's been a while now, and you don't hear anything about this case anymore. So I'm not sure where it goes from here, but it doesn't look good. Definitely doesn't look good. And barring a miracle, maybe someday somebody will come across Suzanne's body. It happens all the time when hunters or search parties stumble upon the human remains. And so that could happen, but the likelihood is not like super great. So, yeah, so that's where we're at. Maybe you guys know a lot more about it than I do. I'm going to go down here to the comments, and what I'll do now is I'll just open it up to some questions. Let me see right here. What does this one say here? Raul Thomas. Is Iris Ayton just setting the table for Barry to sue Chaffee County? Who is paying for Ayton's time on these recent filings? I think Ayton is trying to make a name for herself there's a big push around the country right now, as you guys know, for these prosecutors, these lawyers that are going around trying to vindicate people that are wrongfully in prison, and stuff like that. And most of them are doing it for people of color, blacks, Hispanics, indigenous people, stuff like that. Most of them are doing it because our system's been a little bit, and some would say it's even been a lot biased towards people of color. And so a lot of these prosecutors are trying to get these people out, or trying to, I guess what Aiton's doing, or Aiton, or whatever her name is, she's trying to go after prosecutors that don't have any skin in the game, and sue them and stuff like that. So anyway, it's unusual that they're doing it for Barry Morphew. It's kind of a weird case, because usually you're just seeing all these people of color. But and in addition to that, Barry's a criminal. He sent in Suzanne Morphew's ballot and voted for Trump. And it was voter fraud. And so I'm just really shocked that Aiton is putting all of her eggs in a basket for Barry Morphew, because this could easily backfire on her. And I hope it does. I hope it backfires on her, because Barry's a criminal and she's going to bat for him. And really, Barry, number one, isn't worth it. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. And number two, this could easily backfire on her, with Barry being who he is and some of the crimes that he's committed. So I wish her luck, but I don't think it's going to go very well for her. And I'm going to keep putting pressure on it too. I'm going to keep reminding people of who Barry is, what he's about. So okay, let's see here. Glam Dolly says, Iris, another Linda Stanley, two toxic narcissists with no moral compass, totally self-serving, and in it for themselves, not justice. Okay, so you know what, guys? I don't know. Maybe our little group here doesn't like Linda Stanley. I've tried to stay out of it as much as I could, and not really form an opinion about her one way or the other. I was just happy that she brought charges against Barry and actually put him behind bars. So, I kind of thought she was doing a really good job, but I don't really know how toxic it's gotten since then. So let's see. Tina the nurse, has he mentioned anything about finding his wife or her killer? No, I don't. Not to my knowledge, he hasn't. If you go watch when he was on Good Morning America, it's obvious that it's obvious he's guilty. And I don't care if he watches this and sees it. He can try to sue me, or he can try to have me shut down. He can do whatever he wants. I don't really care, because, first of all, he's not going to succeed. And second of all, like I've said from day one, I'm one person that he's not going to be able to control. All right. I value your opinion, Leah Sim. I don't have an opinion on Stanley either, except she should have waited on the charges. Yeah. It's kind of how I feel too. I thought the judges were terrible and let him free. The judges control their courtrooms. Okay, I'm going to put this one up here too. Journalists must not let the Barry Morphew case lie. Good to hear you say you've moved by the case and won't let it go, Tyson. You're a good guy, great journalist. Well, you know what, guys? I got to be honest with you. That Glam Dolly, that kind of brings me to my next point, which is our world has changed dramatically since Suzanne Morphew went missing. Dramatically. I think you all know that. I think you all know that. I don't know about you, but in my little neck of the woods, everybody that I talk to says the same thing. I mean, these murders now, like Suzanne Morphew's, or even Letitia Stout, or Chris Watts, or Patrick Frazee, and I'm naming a whole bunch of them that happened right here in Colorado, but they're almost like a dime a dozen now. They're in the news every single day, these killings, and it's just awful. Our world has just gone completely mad. And I don't know how to navigate through this new world very well, and so everybody's just kind of like in survival mode. But speaking of that, it's good to see that justice is finally coming in the Letitia Stout case. It looks like she's going to be going away for life, and so that's great. It's just unfortunate that we couldn't bring any justice for Suzanne, but it's not over. It's not over till it's over, right? Chelsea Lynn agrees with me. Chelsea, it's good to see you. Yeah, it's a dangerous world now. When Suzanne went missing Mother's Day 2020, I didn't even think twice about jumping in my truck and going to Colorado and staying the night in New Mexico or wherever. No problem, no question. Now though, I wouldn't even think about doing that. I'd have to get a hotel or stay with friends or whatever, because it's just way too dangerous out there right now. It's a crazy world that we're living in. All right, Christopher, I'm going to throw you up here. Tyson, just want you to know that this is so amazing you are doing this live. My wife and I were watching the Doomsday series on ID about JJ and Tyler, and I said, I hope Tyson is doing well. So thank you very much. And I'm sure you speak for other people out there as well that feel the same way, that have wondered about me and were concerned about me. I'm not going to lie, man. I've had my bouts with depression. I've had my issues, and I've learned how to live with them and just keep pressing forward and just taking it one day at a time. And that's all any of us can do, right? We just got to continue to press forward and navigate through this life, even though it's getting harder and harder, seems like every single day. But when I went to Chad Daybell's house, I'm so sorry. I'll never forget being about 30 yards away from the FBI agents digging up those bodies of Tyler and JJ. And it was such a surreal moment, because I was there and I was witnessing, and I saw this. Of course, they had a tent over it and they had it covered up, but you could still see the black tarp or whatever, so yeah, it was just evil. It was a lot of evil. And that case really hit home to me, because a lot of people have asked me why I'm so intrigued with true crime stories and murders and stuff like that. I think it all started with the Jodi Arias case, because that was a case that was in Arizona, and they were Mormon, LDS, and it just really hit home to me. Travis Alexander was a returned missionary. He went out and served the mission for the church like I did, and like my son's doing right now in Idaho, of all places, Boise, Idaho. And I think that case just really threw me for a loop, because of all the crazy stuff that happened during that case. And so anyway, when I was up there at Chad Daybell's house, Emma, his daughter, I think you guys have heard me say this before, but his daughter lived across the street, kind of catty corner. And I saw her, she kept walking by. And this one time she walked by and I said, "Hey, are you Emma?" And she said, "Yeah." And she was holding a child, a little baby. And she came over and she didn't know how to act. No, she was nervous and she was embarrassed and humiliated. And I just threw a hug. I gave her a hug. And I said, there's a lot of people that are supporting you guys and that are praying for you, the innocent victims of what your dad and Lori did. And it was a special moment. She thanked me, and I said, "Hey, can I interview you? Do you want to come on camera and talk about your mom?" And of course, her mother's Tammy Daybell. You guys know that. That was also killed by Chad and Lori. And Alex Cox. Man, a lot of evil in this world. And, the people that commit these heinous crimes need to pay for them. And I truly believe that Barry's guilty. And I don't know, man, maybe they'll block this video because I say that or whatever, but to me, he's guilty. And when I ran into him, one of the very first things I said was, if he's not guilty, then I'll apologize. And I'll tell him sorry that I filmed him and I lied about it and said the camera was off. But I'm not apologizing because I don't believe his story. I don't believe his actions. I don't believe his mannerisms. I don't believe his behavior. And more importantly, and 100 times more powerfully, I believe the feeling that I have and the feeling I got that day when I looked him square in the eye and he told me that far-fetched story. So to me, Suzanne's up there in those hills somewhere around his house. I know a lot of speculation has been she might be in the mines up there. She might be strung out from, Maysville all the way to Broomfield. But I truly believe, in closing here, in conclusion, I'm going to come full circle with where I started, and that's the day I saw Barry soaking wet. And I saw two people with him, and I don't know who they were. I have no idea who they were. Logic would tell you, common sense, that it was his mom because she was there. But no, I don't think an old lady's going to be out climbing the hills and being soaking wet, stuff like that. So when the FBI agent called me and wanted to know my interaction with Barry the day before, it was his suspicion that Barry could have possibly been in the creek hiding evidence. It's not too far from where her helmet was found, which was just up the road. So to me, I've always felt like her body's somewhere in that area, not too far from the bike. So when I went back, like the third or fourth time I went up there, somebody had put up no trespassing signs, and they took it a step further that said, if you trespass, you're putting your life in risk. Your life's not worth it. So anyway, it's been a bizarre story. It's been a wild ride. A lot of people not a lot, but several key people have passed away since all of this has happened. Gene Norman was one of them, Suzanne's father. He passed away worried sick about where his daughter was. And how sad is that? How sad is that? And I don't know. I don't hear anything about Andy Mormon anymore, so I don't know what his deal is. But, it's just truly a tragedy all the way around. And I hope and pray that someday justice is served. And I hope Suzanne is found and that she will be given a proper burial that she absolutely deserves. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it up to Colorado next month for the little ceremony that we're having for Suzanne. I'll keep you guys posted. I'm still trying to work out the details on that. But in the meantime, I felt like it was necessary to put together a video like this for a long time to kind of like lay out the whole story, because I know a lot of people have had bits and pieces about this, that, and the other. My daughter that was born in Colorado, when all this first happened, when I started telling you about my story and how my daughter's mom went back to Colorado. Well, my daughter's 7 years old now. She's 7, and I haven't seen her or spent time with her in 6 years. 6 years, and it's just absolutely almost killed me. And it's not, a lot of things in life aren't fair. There's a lot of half truths, a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that with some powerful people that was out of my control. And so, you know, it is what it is. But I hope that someday as my kids get older, they watch some of these videos and they realize that they were lied to about a lot of things, and that their dad's actually a pretty good guy. And he's actually a dad that really, truly loves his children more than anything else by far in this whole world. So I know you guys do too. All you guys that have kids out there. I hope that your relationship with them is great. If it's not, pick up the phone. Life's too short. Pick up the phone, give them a call, and try to rectify that situation. So anyway, I was hoping to take more questions, but I think I'm going to wrap it up because it's actually been an hour. I want to thank you guys for being here. I can't promise that I'll do this on a regular basis, but hopefully I'll pop in here every once in a while and put these videos together and maybe just kind of keep the fire alive for Suzanne. So hope you guys are all doing well. Hope God blesses you guys. Stay safe out there in this crazy world, because it is getting crazy. Talk to you guys soon.